Hello, we are back with another episode of PeppTalks.
We are here today with
Team Frogs from Germany.
There, we are Team F.R.O.G Robots of Germany from Germany. We're Team 101A3, and the frogs are quite obviously our mascot. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure what to say in this.
That's fine. That's fine.
Maybe we can introduce ourselves.
Yeah, we
again.
can introduce ourselves.
yes.
So my name is Leah, and I'm completely new to this team and to FTC in general.
My name is Kati. This is my third season of FTC, and I'm sort of involved in nearly everything. But yeah.
I'm Tobias. This is my fourth season of FTC, and my main task is programming, but I also do other things. Because we are a small team with only 5 members, everyone has to do a bit of everything.
Okay, so you are before the podcast, you were talking about how you have 4 teams in your school. How do you usually get along with all your other teams in the school?
Well, it's quite harmonic, so we all get along with each other nearly always. Like we only have one room in which all the teams do their stuff, and every team has got one table, and the materials we sort of share them all together. There are like shelves where all the things are stored, and yeah, it works quite well that way.
There are a lot of friendships between different teams, so it's also just a very personal connection to the other teams, and we're really having fun when all of us are there. Yeah.
Did you have a timer you had to battle like the other teams for parts? Because a lot of the time FTC is really limited in the parts you have to use. And did you had conflicts while finding parts for your robot?
Occasionally, but that rarely happens. So usually there is enough. There's either enough materials for every team, or we have sponsorings that cover material costs. So we tell our coach to maybe order some linear slides. We recently actually bought, I think, 6 linear slides because everyone wanted to use them. So we got some new ones, and that was that worked really well, because with 4 teams all doing a bit of sponsoring work, you do have a few sponsors that you can rely on for material costs.
So you share the fundraising. You do it together and you share the money. Okay.
Yeah.
I see got your robot in the background. Can we see?
Okay. I think we might have to go to the side a bit for that. But we have our robot in the background. Yes. The grip is not attached at the moment. We were just building, and yeah, so we're currently not exactly having the gripper there, but we have the drivetrain with a couple of linear slides and the expansion and control hub here. Okay, I can quickly put it front. Yeah,
that's actually really cool.
Thank you.
When you design your robot, what are the steps you take? Like, what is your robot design process?
Mm-hmm. I think the first step is brainstorming. The most important step is just collecting all of the ideas we either see elsewhere or we have from previous season, or things that people just come up with. Then I think there's something that you've been doing quite a lot this year, drawing some kind of drawings to drafts, to establish what these ideas may look like. So you can maybe describe something like that.
Yes, so for ideas that are not the simplest thing, we often make some drawings how it should look like, how it should work, and how we could possibly build this.
Do you do any CAD before building the robot, or you just go there and hands-on build?
Depending on the season. So usually we first start building and build the CAD along the way. But there are sometimes parts that are first designed in CAD and then, for example, printed so that we have those parts, because otherwise that just wouldn't work. But most of the robot is first built and then in the process also designed in CAD.
Okay, but more importantly, does it have a name?
So Frog Robots of Germany, well, the acronym is great. The acronym is just frogs, and it's that's quite amazing. Also, the school mascots are actually frogs. So every fifth grader, when they go to our school, they get a little frog, like those plushy frogs, and they can keep them till they graduate, and then bring them to school and show that they still have them and all that. It's really cute. It's really a cute tradition. And since the frog is our school mascot, we also decided that we wanted to have the frog established in our team. The story of the school mascot is actually kind of funny, because our school used to be an only girls' school, and it is quite in the center of our city. So when the girls walked home from school, they always had the green uniforms and they wore them through all of the city, right? So people in our hometown used to say, "Oh, there are the frogs going." So that's how the frogs became our mascot. And yeah, it's just a really nice tradition. And also we had a predecessor team called What the Frog, and they were great. They were amazing, honestly. So yeah.
Okay, but why doesn't the robot have a name?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Just why doesn't the robot have a name?
Usually it always does. This season we haven't yet entirely decided for a name. Last season's name was Quoxy. The year before, Goffy, and before that, Kermit. Kermit, well, I think that's quite obvious. Then Goffy, well, Golf is just frog backwards. So, you know.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and this season we're still thinking about it. We recently had an experience with a plant called F.R.O.G. So we're thinking about naming our robot after that plant. But we're not sure yet.
We named our robot before even.
Yeah, it was a suggestion of our mentors to name all the robots we make. It's actually not a really good idea because we get emotionally attached to them. Yeah, and when we have to break them and make a new one, it's pretty exhausting and emotionally challenging.
It's not exhausting. It's sad. It's very.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to decide whether it should be a girl's name or a boy's name, because obviously all of the girls want a girl's name and all of the boys want a boy's name, and so we agreed on naming it.
We actually split. The prototype was named after a boy, and the real robot was named after a girl. So we have equality in our
yeah.
team.
Usually we have the 3D printers named after girls and the robots named after boys.
But we have to make a change.
Okay.
That's really cool.
Sorry, I'm very sorry for interrupting you. Please go on.
Totally fine. Totally fine. Sorry. So we never had that discussion, funnily enough. When we were an all-girls team, which was 3 years ago, by accident, sort of, we actually, that was the season when the robot was called Kermit. Which is, well, I'm not exactly sure whether it's probably a male name, right? I'm not 100% sure. But usually the names are sort of neutral, so it's kind of okay.
Yeah, in our country, it's mostly like most names ending in A are for girls, and the other names are for boys. And there's a firm separation between them. There aren't a lot of common names, so there's a lot of fighting when it comes to choosing names for printers or other stuff like that.
Now we have a question for you. We were really wondering, how does the community respond to your team? Do they support you? Do the school support you? Do they promote you on social media or stuff? How do you do this outreach, and how do you promote your team?
So
We can't really hear you.
Sorry, we couldn't hear you. Can you speak maybe louder or closer?
okay. So our school really tries to support us. They show that we're actually always a big factor why new fifth graders come into the school. So there was my brother's in fifth grade at the moment at our school, and one of his classmates said he only came to the school because of FGC and because he found that really, really cool. So that's great, and that's a success. And our school tries to show that. Our school isn't really on social media in the first place, so they can't, for example, promote us there. But we do a lot of outreach via social media. We try to post a lot. This season, it's a bit less than last season, I think, but it still sort of works. And also, we go to local fairs. Last year, we were in Würzburg at the Highlights der Physik. That was really amazing. It was basically an event to promote physics and to promote different things you can do with physics. So robots are part of that, and as we put it. So we went there, and that was really cool. And we really talked to a whole lot of people who actually were really interested in this. We also went to science trainings for teachers a couple of times, and actually inspired 2 new teams in our city to start FTC, which was really cool. We're really happy that that worked. What else? We also have, FTC just isn't that famous, so there are not that many platforms that listen to everything that you need to know about FTC in order to be able to promote it in the first place. But sometimes when the news last year, especially after we went to Houston, there were, I think, 3 news outlets.
Yes.
That actually interviewed us. That was really cool. That's the main outreach parts. But there are also many other, not many, but there are some other teams in our area that we have contact with, especially in the Netherlands, and the teams of the sister of our coach.
We read that like in Germany there are like 6 or 8 or 10, I don't know, FTC teams. So we were wondering, since there are so many, no, not so many, so little teams, how do the community perceive you? Like, do they consider you more valuable, or do they encourage to forming other teams, or how does it? How does the I don't know, your target audience respond to you?
Most of the target audience we have are basically people that don't know FTC. So what we're doing is introducing them for the first time to the concept, and then they really find the ideas really cool. There isn't that much of a German FTC community due to, just having so few teams. There's one team in the north of Germany where nobody really knows whether it exists anymore or not. So we're not even sure about that. So that's really sad. But we've been participating in the Netherlands, for example, for years, and we're just sort of part of the community, I think, at this point, which is honestly great. We can't be at all of the Dutch events, obviously, because it's expensive and far away to go there. So we need to go 8 hours by car, I think, 6 to 8 hours, depending on where we want to go. So that's just quite far away. But online, we're a lot involved with the Dutch FTC teams. And within the German community, well, nearly half of the teams are at our school. So community-wise, it's fairly easy. And we also had a training camp together with 2 teams from our coach's sister that I just mentioned. So that are already 6 out of, well, currently we definitely know of 8 teams existing, 8 to 9 teams. Then 2 teams have had a change in coaches, so we're not exactly sure what's going on there, but we're still trying to contact the coach there. And there's one team, one new team this year, hopefully, as far as I've heard, from Karlsruhe, which is actually not that far away. We haven't contacted them yet because other teams in Germany have done that. But we're basically always very welcome at Dutch competitions or at also Spanish competitions. Spanish competitions, for example, are really interesting because, 9 teams aren't enough to build a German competition, so we always have to go elsewhere. And in Spain, there have been, I think, 2 competitions we've went to the past couple of years. There are teams from Italy, from California, actually, from the Netherlands, from Spain, Cyprus, I think, Malta. So there are teams from everywhere. And since it's a very international community, we're just naturally a part of that. And that's really great, honestly. And at American military bases, we sometimes go to American military bases because they are fairly close. And there are obviously a lot of American teams there. Sometimes also Dutch teams and a couple of German teams. But since these air bases are, well, technically in Germany, it's kind of perceived to be normal to have German teams there.
So I really wanted to ask you, what was your experience in Houston? Because I saw that you qualified for the Worlds. And what was your most...
What are you trying to ask me?
One second.
How was the experience there?
Yeah.
Like, did it live up to your expectations, or were you disappointed? What did you expect to see, or what did you see? Just in general, some thoughts of yours.
It's an amazing experience, but it was also a new experience going.
Could you maybe come closer to the microphone?
Yeah, so we can hear you.
So it was an amazing experience. And also a lot of things are new for us because we weren't in the United States before that. So there were a lot of things that were not how things were here.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing experience to go to the Worlds and meet a lot of new teams. And also see teams we had contact with before.
Yeah, I mean, 180 teams on the World Finals are just so much. I think the biggest competition we've had before that were like 30 teams or something. And that already seemed quite big. So 180 teams was so amazing. We actually had a lot of technical issues, probably also due to transport. But yeah, that happens, and that was fine. Our main goal was going there, and we were very, very happy with that. We actually lost most matches. However, we lost the matches with quite high points, actually. There was, for example, a match that we lost while having 235 points, which is higher than some teams who've won during the semifinals, for example. We just weren't exactly lucky because the other teams were always really, really good, which obviously is the World Finals. It's the World Finals. They were all amazing.
Yeah.
It was so incredible to see all of that and to also see the atmosphere of just 180 teams and all of the people there being in the room, being people who enjoy the same thing and who just know the thing that you've been doing. And it's amazing. It's just honestly incredible. The US itself also was an interesting experience because, well, Tobias mentioned none of us had been to the US before, except for our coaches. And going to the US for the first time and then going to Texas specifically, there are a lot of changes. Everything was so huge. I think we were having quite a lot of fun with a gallon of water. You usually can buy like 1 liter of water, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly you've got 3.7 liters of water. So we actually had bought a gallon of water just because we were slightly amazed also by the like huge packages and all of that. And then realized half an hour before like safety checks and everything on the way back that we hadn't started drinking it. So we had to drink 3.7 liters of water in like half an hour. So that was quite funny. And everything's just so massive. The cars are massive. The roads are incredibly huge. Even within a city, the roads are as big as the highways here. And that was just so incredible. Also the houses and all the differences within Houston were very big. You have those huge skyscrapers on the one hand, and 2 streets further away, you've got homeless people that are really struggling with a lot of things, obviously. And that was really interesting to see.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, it's America, the land of the free.
Yeah.
We actually had a colleague from our sister team who was awarded with
He was a team semi-finalist.
and he had like 2 weeks to raise the money to go there. So I'm quite curious, what did you do to actually get there?
How did you get the money to get to Houston?
Mm-hmm. We were told that we could go 4 weeks before the World Finals. So we really were short on time as well. We wrote, I think, over 100 emails and within 3 days to different companies to just get sponsoring. We also wrote, I think, about 200 letters to different companies. But what was the most effective thing we could have possibly done, and what was honestly great, one of our team members had the idea that we could ask the parents of the children here whether at their companies where they work at, there are people who are interested in FTC and would like to sponsor us. Because the thing is, you can write as many sponsor emails as you want. The most important things are contacts. And through the parents, we had those contacts. So we, for example, got a lot of money from the Deutsche Bahn, which is basically the main company for trains in Germany. They are famous for always being late. And we honestly weren't exactly sure how that was happening, but we kind of got a lot of money from them. And that was really amazing. And there are actually quite a lot of companies, organizations that try to sponsor students. It's just really hard to find them, and you need to have contacts, and then things can work out. And it was really stressful. So the main people in our team responsible for sponsoring during that time was one team member who left the team this year because he's graduating, and me. And we were both so stressed out after, I think, 1.5 weeks. But we managed it, and it worked. And yeah, that's the most important thing.
Also, I have a question, is a bit off topic. You said you got a control hub. How did you manage to get one? Because there are teams that struggles for like years to get one. How did you manage to get one?
This is personal.
Yeah.
When we had the money to buy one, we couldn't buy one, and when we could buy one, we didn't have the money.
And they raised the prices as well. Like it was $200, and now it's $350, I think.
Well, that was actually quite difficult for us as well, partially. especially having 4 teams at our school who partially participate at the same competitions. Well, you need to have quite a few control hubs, right? Our school has participated in First Global competition, First Global Challenge, not exactly sure, but this First Global thing, organization. Actually, this year's team is from our school, and they're currently there, and they're currently participating, and they're great. They're actually from one of the older teams at our school. Anyway, there were always control hubs and expansion hubs being used there. So we could use them actually from the old 2018 FGC robot, I think.
Oh.
So that was one control hub we got. Then we borrowed one from Ansbach, which is a military bases in Bavaria that said they had actually one spare one. So we were able to get that one. And I think we bought another, I think we bought 1 or 2 other ones. But it took quite a while actually for us to, but yeah. Also, this season we had to give the control hub back to the team from Ansbach because they are having one more team now, so they need themselves. And well, we have a First Global team this year though, where there are control hubs in there, so that works.
Like being in an European country, how do you usually plan out to get the parts from USA? I mean, there are a lot of parts like from F.R.O.G or Build-Up. They're really nice, but it takes a long time to come to the Europe. And how do you usually plan your
On doing the order?
Well, yeah, we've had that problem before. Yeah, absolutely. We can really relate to that. Also, the playing field takes weeks. That's also a big thing. So for the playing field, our coach always prints, for example, a cone or a cube or whatever we need that year for us to test how big that is. The rest of the playing field, well, we're just waiting for that. We currently actually have one. We also always share our playing field with another team with 2 other teams from our coach's sister's school. So we always have half a playing field for 4 teams, which is sometimes a bit of a struggle, but it usually works. Otherwise, we just plan really carefully what we need. We try to use as many materials as possible from, well, things that are not ref or something where we don't need to have those long waiting times. But we print a lot of 3D things. I think you're really the expert on 3D printing in our team. So that's something we always try to do. And yeah, sometimes very often actually, we do order from AnyMark or Ref and all of that. Then we just have to wait. There's nothing you can really do about that. It's quite sad. At least we haven't found anything yet. We also just use quite a lot of the materials from the previous seasons, and then it always kind of works in the end.
I was actually curious, how do you guys manage with the programming team? Like, how do you program the robot throughout the season?
So we use Android Studio, and so everyone should be able to program a bit, but I'm the main programmer and I do most of the things, but I'm also teaching the rest of the team. So next season, other team members can also program good.
Yeah. The problem is both of us are graduating this year, so we have to pass on the knowledge.
We have the same problem as well. We are currently 2 programmers here. We have 2 programmers in the team, and we need to, when we graduate, we need to have some sort of continuity to pass the knowledge. And we've been struggling to finding someone that is willing to come in the lab weekly to program the robot. And how is the curricula in your
Curriculum.
school?
Like, what does the programming classes in your school help with the FTC programming? Or do you have any programming classes?
Well, technically, we should have programming classes. We should have 1 year of informatics in 7th grade, and then from 8th to 10th and to 12th grade, no, to 11th, sorry, we can choose whether we want to have something related to that. However, the reality looks different. Most of the time, you've learned to program with Scratch, actually, which is really a pain. It's kind of terrible. And if you do learn something about Java, for example, then it's really the really basic stuff, like how do you draw a triangle or something. So programming classes are maybe great to introduce somebody to a system, to the system of Java, how it generally works, but it's not that helpful for FTC though.
Also, there are no real examples of what you would program in reality, but only some tasks that have absolutely nothing to do with reality. So we also have not a lot of experience from the programming classes.
We actually have like 7 programming classes per week, but they're all in C++ and competitive programming, so they don't really help us either.
Yeah, we actually are an informatics-based school. Like, we are the only school in our city that that takes 7 hours a week of programming. But we got me and Arman got so good at them that we don't even have to go at them anymore. So we just go to the lab and work on our robot.
Because in our country, the classes are basically algorithms and data structures. So basically, they are teaching us how to pass an interview at the company, which is very useful. But after you learned all it is to learn from school, you just don't go anymore. Like, it's basically very funny when we got to learn trees, for example, some subject that is learned in 11th grade. And I was curious, how did you learn to program? That you said the computer science classes are not very good. How did you manage to learn to program?
I learned it with these Arduino microcontrollers because my father got one, and then I saw how great it is and also learned programming. So this was mostly C and C++. Then I learned Java to program things for Minecraft. But it also helps if you know another programming language before this. And in the school, we only did Scratch and then some Java basics, but we haven't learned what a class is.
Oh yeah, that too. They taught us after 5 years of computer science what a class is and what an object is. It was that was slightly a struggle, to put it nicely. I think some people who also start by playing around with the MIT App Inventor and then getting interested into the general concept of I do something and then it does something and that's cool. And then they try to teach themselves about programming languages. And I actually know a few people in Germany that's not FTC related exactly, but they are also interested in programming because they need it for astrophysics actually. So they taught themselves Python, I think, and also a couple of other programming languages because they just needed a lot of information for astrophysics and astrophotography.
Yeah, I think it's the same on our country. Like we got to use classes just in 12th grade. If I think you learn it, or in 11th grade. Like it's the same. Like you.
And then we start programming at 9th grade.
Yeah, I think
You
they.
can start in 5th grade actually.
Yeah.
So it takes like 8 years to learn.
Yeah, and I think they just assume you'll learn it from college.
Yeah.
Yeah, now on a more non-technical side, I was wondering, because I saw on your guys' Instagram that you are not just members of the same robotic team, you are also friends. And I was wondering if you do other activities besides the work that you do in your laboratory, like together.
Like team building. So
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I think main aspect of team building that we all have time for at the same time is probably lunch. It's incredibly refreshing to just go out of the school and have lunch together, which is something that I'll actually also do with the other teams. So then we had the trainings camp, for example. That was incredibly helpful, and it was really fun to go into the forest together and take quite a few pictures of mushrooms.
Well, it's basically just that we go like for 3 days into a Yellow Hostel, and there we can start building the robot and meeting the team of our coach's sister, and yeah, just also doing some team building stuff, which is very interesting.
I think many people within our team are also friends. So I think you have a Minecraft server where also Frida and Florian are on.
Yes, and also members of the other teams at our school.
Yeah. So there are definitely friendships building around FTC. One of the team members I just mentioned, she first joined us while going to Houston, because to go to Houston, you needed to be vaccinated, and 2 of our team members weren't vaccinated. One person just messed up with getting the appointment for that, and one person has slightly critical parents there, which was, yeah, bit of a discussion. So we had to take another team member from another team at our school, and we already knew her, and we liked her a lot, and she thought about joining our team this year. She now has, and I talked a lot to her on the plane. You know, you've got those 13 hours there and 9 hours back. There are quite a few things you can talk about. Also, when we're away in competitions together, yeah, that's really important for team building. And in our day-to-day lives, we also meet apart from FTC. I would say we are all friends.
So you told us before the interview started that you basically live in school. I wanted to know what is your wildest memory of just staying in school late, or when nobody else is there.
Okay. I also mentioned that we have had sleepovers in school before, right? Both of them were actually quite funny. So for my first one, that was 3 years ago. I was in 9th grade back then. I was 13, slightly terrified of what FTC was and all of that. So my team decided to have a sleepover in school, and we said, okay, we'd watch Star Wars in the evening on like a huge whiteboard and all of that. That's like really cool because we've got access to classrooms. So we did that and thought, and I think we talked about what would happen if someone came in right now. So we said, okay, if someone came in right now, they would first kick us out, and second, that conversation would be very weird. During a very exciting scene of the film, suddenly the door opened very slowly, and we were all incredibly panicking. So one of our team members actually said, had I been 70 years older, I would have gotten a heart infarct right now. Well, it was just somebody from the cleaning staff. no teachers, nobody who would cause us any problems, and nothing was going on. So that was completely fine. But we all were so scared. So yeah, the next morning, nobody should have been in school till 10 because that was the day before Christmas or something. So we had later school at 9:50. So we assumed, okay, we can sleep till 8, and then somebody might go in, right? Yeah, at 7:30, I woke up actually and just got myself something to drink. Suddenly, I hear a key in the door. Turning around, I was just thinking, "Oh, damn it! Somebody with a key is here," and that could be 2 people: our coach or any other teacher. Oh, and wait, one team member from another team. It was our coach. At this point, I had very quickly gotten back into to the others, lay down and thought, okay, nobody's going to see me. I'm just pretending to be just like the other ones. So our coach described it the following. He walked in, saw a pair of shoes, and thought, okay, wait, what? Then he saw a rucksack and thought, okay, something is wrong here. And he stood for, I think, 15 seconds in the doorway and then just quietly asked, can I turn on the lights? The second sleepover was just as chaotic, actually. So that was actually the day before the summer holidays, 1 school year later. And in the evening, we realized that the teachers were having a teacher party that evening at our school when we planned to do this. So they would be walking around all of the school all the time till maybe 1 a.m. or something. And we were slightly panicking. So we said, okay, we just have to clean up our room before the summer holidays. So that's why we're there for quite a while. And then we also just kind of want to celebrate the end of the school year. So we might watch a film then. That should be fine, right? Yeah, so at 8, we thought, okay, at this point it's getting slightly suspicious, maybe, for some teachers that we're still in school. So we walked out of the front entrance, through the teachers' party, said goodbye to everyone, and tried to make as many people as possible see us going out of the school. Then we took a back entrance that is usually closed, that you can only open from inside of the school. It got back in, got into our lab, closed the door there, and then just hoped nobody would see us. Thing is, we then watched a very terrifying action movie. Then was slightly scared. So actually, there were some teachers that saw us walking around with pizza, but they didn't care. They were fine with that. So those 2 stories were kind of the ones I remember most, probably.
They were really good stories, and it was really funny to hear them.
I vividly remember being locked in the school at one point last year.
Yeah, we usually jump to the windows because there are a lot of times where nobody knows we are in school and they lock us in. We had
as well. Yeah.
found some ways to get out of school.
Sorry. So sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Yes. I think.
Yeah. Our school actually has doors that you can always open from the inside. So you can always get out, but not always get in. Still, if you walk out of the front door, then people will see you and they're not happy. So we've got one Lego room that we used to be in as FTC teams, and our current working room. Our current working room is in 2nd floor, which is not great to jump out of a window, right? So there's an issue there. But the other room is basically in the basement. So there are windows that go directly on the street of the other side of the school, actually, which is perfect to go out and too late in the evening. So yeah, that's great. But how do you close the windows when you go out of the windows?
You
Because that's
don't.
been an issue. Okay, yeah, that's
Two ways. You don't, or we have a weird locking mechanism where you can open it from the inside, and when you close it closes it automatically. But it doesn't always work. So
mhm.
kind of hope that nobody's going to jump through the window.
They are very small. Like you can see them on the camera. They are like, I don't know, 1 meter wide.
They're
Oh.
not one.
Like,
30 centimeters.
Nah, it's
half a meter.
like when you jump, you're like in the movies, you have to throw your backpack and then jump through the window because you don't fit with the backpack on.
Okay, that's really funny.
Do you have any more questions?
Do you have questions for us? Maybe because we asked you a lot of questions, but do you?
Sure. So actually, how is the team atmosphere in Romania? Because I mean, there are so many teams in Romania, right? So how does that work? How's the system there?
We have in Romania we have like 300 teams at the moment, but
200, 250.
yeah.
that actually make it to the regionals. And then at the nationals we'll have this year like 170 teams to 190.
It's actually really weird because in my first 2 years I thought it was really competitive, and later I found out after going through the remote games and when we actually
But
went
traditional
there,
events.
traditional, we found out that it was actually cooler to collaborate with other teams and actually talk to them, meet them, and make events with them. So
yes, so now that the pandemic doesn't really pose a problem, that it's not that big of a problem anymore in Romania. We actually collaborate with teams all over the country. We're actually leaving next week. We have an 11-hour train ride.
And we arrive at 3 a.m. in the morning just to go meet other teams for an event they're making. And it's actually really cool. And I hope that we get some nice experiences from them. And I hope we don't get lost in the city.
And some teams actually organized the summer camp this summer.
Yeah, it was really cool that being a lot of teams in our country, there are a lot of events where a lot of our teams get together and not only talk about FTC, but about our lives in general and stay at the campfire. And so that was really cool. Yeah. And it's really cool actually having a lot of teams to talk to and to meet throughout the summer or of the year.
And we can, being so many teams, we have so many coalitions. Like we have one that's named the ecosystem, like
eco and
STEM.
Okay, yeah, I see.
And we organize events together, so we have a bigger impact. And then at the end of the year, it's not really a competition for us. We all work together, and then we're so happy for the people who win.
And to give you guys a better idea of how it works, like we have some regionals, like we've been split in 3 different championships from all across the country, and after that to the national championship, 100 teams or so are qualified, and then national championship is equal to a state championship in America.
So only three teams qualified from the whole 250 teams in our country. Yeah. So it sometimes gets very stressful and competitive at the nationals.
Yeah,
but it's a cool experience, and yeah.
Thank you.
That is really. That's really amazing. Doesn't FIRST give out more tickets because you're so many teams?
No.
Wow. I mean, they don't give Germany any tickets, so there's that. But that's because we're obviously just not even enough teams for a competition. They do give 2 tickets to the Netherlands, which is quite interesting. That's 2 because I think they've got 45 teams, and they always compete with German, Switzerland, Swiss is the word. Belgian and also Luxembourgian teams, and all of them have 2 tickets, which is that's still just slightly over 50 teams maybe competing, and it's just it's not exactly great.
And how are they selected? Like, is it based on the Inspire Award, or how do you?
1 Inspire Award and 1 Finalist Alliance Captain, I think.
Oh,
Actually,
Winning Alliance Captain. Sorry, I'm confused.
actually, before last year, we could go to other competitions. Like a lot of teams in our country went to the Russian National Championships.
Yeah, we saw.
We could get more teams into worlds like that, but after the war, we didn't have that opportunities. So,
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. I think Russia, well, we participated there remotely, and that was a slightly weird experience. There were teams from, well, some of the best teams of the Netherlands, Germany, and also I think Switzerland, Romania, obviously, and Russia. And actually, if you look at the scores, also the Dutch teams, like, for example, Pink to the Future, and also us, were really high up there. All of the awards, all of the second award, all of the third place awards, all went to teams that were from the same countries as the judges, which was, well, I'm not saying anything. Maybe there have been reasons for that, probably, but yeah, it's just slightly, it gives off a weird vibe when it's always the same countries getting awards and all that. When so many different people are participating and so many different people are actually getting really good scores.
I mean, it looks sort of a nepotism, but
you didn't want to accuse anyone of that, right? Though, so we didn't go into that further, and I think it's most peaceful way to deal with that.
Yeah.
It was also quite interesting because we also participated remotely in Kaiserslautern on the airbase there, and I'm not even sure whether they wanted video of the matches, but they were very, very relaxed with the regulations there. If so, they wanted a video of the best couple of matches, and Russia wanted 4 cameras of every single match, right? So that was just the difference there. And actually, the people in Kaiserslautern also told us that from first, the official regulation was don't control them that much because great professionalism and all of that, and we think they are playing fair. And actually, our school Wi-Fi just wasn't good enough to do a video conference with 4 cameras at the same time, and it was slightly problematic at some points, and we decided not to compete there remotely, probably again. But yeah.
Actually, in our regional championship, it was way worse. Like, we had to put 6 cameras all in exact positions. We had to measure the field each match to make sure that the distance between the wall and the barrier was always the same.
We had to do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and also before and after the match to see that we didn't push the wall. It was very stressful for us.
And we had on the wall some kind of code, and we need to show it every match when we're on remote. So it's like
that was supposed to be for inspection.
Yeah. No, it was every match.
Okay, that's really stressful. I honestly don't get. Well, okay, I do get that the regulations are higher because there's tickets for more teams, right, and all of that. But it's just not. It's just making the experience of participating remotely so much worse. So I think during the season that I didn't participate, so during Ultimate Goal, you guys participated in Canada. And they were really great because they actually still try to have the competition atmosphere. So this really nice atmosphere. So I think they actually had pit visits and all of that, like online, and also Kahoot games and all of that. I actually participated in a Kahoot game there, even though I wasn't on the team that year. But that was, I think, that was pretty much how a remote competition like that was supposed to go, and it often kind of doesn't.
Yeah. Well, thank you for answering to all of our questions. Do you have any more questions for them?
No.
Do you guys have any questions? I'm always well, in 10 minutes I could ask you 20 questions, but at this point spontaneously I'm so bad at that. So yeah, that's a bit of an issue. So I don't have any immediate questions, I think.
I think we're
So thank you for coming to talk to us, and it's been real nice talking to you.
we hope to collaborate in the future.
Yes, and good luck for this season. And we hope that you enjoyed this hour and something, almost 2 hours of talking to us. And we hope that we did not bore you or anything.
You didn't. So it was absolutely great to talk to you guys. Thank you for inviting us, and also good luck for the season. Also, the frog heads are so cute. Just wanting to mention that. Frog appreciation. So thanks a lot for this meeting. It's been honestly great with you guys. So we hope to collaborate again too.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Bye.
Bye.